Hey, beautiful ones. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the Business of Black Beauty. I am your host, Stephenetta Harmon, and I am excited tonight to continue our conversations around Black women and men who are creating their own seats and tables in the beauty industry. And tonight we are talking Headwraps with You Go Natural founder Monique Little. She is a Dallas-based founder who has turned a hair care staple into a multi-million-dollar empire, growing from sewing her must-haves for herself at home to running her own production facility. So I want to say welcome, Monique. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I'm so excited to have this conversation tonight. Found you a while ago when we were talking about, head wraps and what we need in our life, and then end up coming across you again later after you secured $2 million in seed investment. I was like, all right, this is a lady on the move, and we need to know and share her story with our audience. So yes. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you even got into making head wraps?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in New Jersey. I just kind of came up there. I got my degree from Rutgers University in economics, and I spent a couple years of my career just kind of working on the back end of consumer products. So I worked for large chemical companies that made the components of your everyday products on the shelf, like Tide and Doritos. And so a couple years in, I had my first child. And at that time, I realized that my natural hair, I just didn't have time for my natural hair regimen. I was wearing my hair naturally. I had worn it that way since high school. And all of a sudden, I just didn't have time to deal with it anymore. And I found that this helped that my hair began to suffer. And so I started wearing head wraps. Head wraps were really becoming a big trend at the time. But I found that watching the tutorials was like just time consuming, and the fabric was drying to my hair and it was breaking it off. And so I was like, why don't we have something that's easier than this? So I created something that was easier than this for myself. And I showed it to my Instagram following. They asked me where they could buy it, and the rest is kind of history.
So did you initially start off with, so folks who don't know, she has these amazing head wraps that are satin lined. Do you have any with you?
If you give me 2 seconds, I can grab one.
Okay, yes, go grab one, please, because I can't be your guest. So she's going to grab one, you guys. And so she's got these head wraps that are satin lined that aren't like the normal where you just get a bolt of fabric where you wrap it around your head. They're actually pre-cut and pre-sewn and pre-shaped. So you just stick it on your head and you wrap it around. And I think that's important for folks to understand, because we all get a piece of fabric, right? And then don't know what to do next. Now that's already got the circle on it. Okay.
Yeah. So this one is knotted in the front. So this one you can really just slip on and go.
Okay. Now, was that the first one you created?
So no, I started with your traditional African print fabric, which is a lot less flexible than this t-shirt material. And I had created them into these really intricate designs where we tack them together and you could really just put it on and go. But they're all satin lined.
So notice when she slipped that off that her hair didn't go straight up, because that's from the satin. You know that's a thing too, right?
Exactly. That's the point.
Now, those are the small things that we don't necessarily think about till we're wrapping our hair, and then you have just this one section of situation. And like, I'm West African. I grew up in head wraps, so I know and then being with my friends who are Nigerian, I'm Liberian, and having Nigerian friends with that thunder wrap. I call it the thunder when you hear the G. So you're giving us a way to do that without having to know how to do it, because some people's little loop be tired.
Exactly. And it's not even always as secure as you want it to be. You could be in the middle of the day and the thing is coming loose, and then you're like out at the grocery store and the head wrap's coming off. And so that was another thing that I was just it's got to be easier than this.
Mm. So then how did you start growing it as a brand, going it from just sewing at home to like, I'm going to sell it? People were hitting you up then.
Yeah, so the amazing thing about this journey has been that the customers have really been driving how far this brand can go. So we really just opened up and started selling by word of mouth. For the first year, we sold about $100,000 worth of wraps. And that was just myself and my mother and maybe like one other seamstress that we hired to help us sew.
You had your mama sewing too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was just us in her living room. So it was really just that the customers told us they wanted more and more of this. And it was really evident that we were filling a need that hadn't been addressed before. And really the vision of the brand is to create these types of innovations that, Black women have been learning their hair for ages and really haven't had many products addressed to them in the market. So really just we have a laser focus on innovation and creating products that make life easier for women with this hair type.
Okay. How long have you been around? Like, when did you start?
We started in 2016.
2016. And then what, I'm talking about the satin piece, right? But what are the pieces that when you sat down and said, I need to make something that works? What makes yours work?
Yeah, so the biggest thing actually is the satin lining. And the next thing is the handcrafted nature of our process. So all of our wraps are handcrafted. We make them all right here in Dallas, Texas. And the point of our process was to make it feel like an authentic head wrap when you put it on your head. There's a lot of what they call turbans at the beauty supply store made of this cheap fabric, and you put it on and it might have a little ruffle sewed on the front. And it, like they call it maybe an easy head wrap, but it doesn't really feel like it would feel if you were actually wearing a head wrap. So we really make ours to feel like you've tied a piece of fabric around your head and just really to mimic that experience.
Okay. And then you talked about how your customers really drove, have been driving your process. What has that been like? You said 100K the first year. What has the growth process been like? Was it a lot of growing pains?
Yeah. So what it's been is really we've been chasing the demand. So it's really just been us keeping up with what the customers are saying they want. And it's really not until this year that we've really been able to open up. Last year, we opened up our production facility in Dallas, and that was bringing everything in-house, right? Before that, we had seamstresses across the city kind of making them in small bits and dropping them off at my house, and I would ship them out of my home. So this year is when we've really been able to bring the entire process together, be able to be agile and upscale and scale up the process, and really just like see where the ceiling is. So that's what we're doing, and that's how we're growing the business.
Nice. What's been the most rewarding part of your journey so far?
I would say really being able to interact with my customers. I've said this a couple times in this conversation that they've really driven the brand, and they've been able to give me so much feedback on the product. And because it was something that was really filling a need for them, they had so much invested in really me getting it right. So really just, it's been a constant conversation between myself and my customers, and really creating a brand that serves them. And that's been really rewarding.
That's nice. In the journey of making the products and even opening up your facility, what have been some of the challenges and like the lessons that you've learned along the way that maybe you wish you knew before, but you just like, I'm getting it now?
Man, it's been stretching me. It's been stretching me. We are, it's funny, we started in June of 2020, middle of COVID, we opened the facility.
Yeah, you said that, and I was like, oh, okay. But Dallas has been wide open out here.
Yeah. I mean, we were safe. We were lucky to not have any outbreaks or any incidents with COVID, thank goodness. But we started with 8 people, and we now have 51 people employed here. So we've grown very quickly. And so just understanding how to build processes in a way that can be redundant across the entire team, and how to create, supply chains that keep our system operational and efficient. Those are all things that I'm learning as I go, but it's really been such a fun process.
Now, did you move to Dallas for the company, or were you already moving to Dallas and then you built?
No, my husband's job relocated, so we moved here. At that time, the business was small enough that I could kind of pick it up and take it with me. So that's what I did, and I just picked it up, moved it, and kept it moving.
So I know I'm over here like I feel like 21 questions, but this is exciting to see someone go from an idea to actually a masterful brand, because we think of it typically when we're talking hair care products, and then there's someone's got like a butter or a pomade or a gel or something, and it's like it doesn't have to be just that for what you need, right? So how has that been for you in the process as you've been building your brand, as you connect with other people who are, founders or who have their own ideas? How are they responding to you? Not just your customers, but people who are seeing you as a brand, because you're bigger than yourself now, right?
Yeah, I mean, because we are innovating in the natural hair care space, but we're innovating in a different way than the typical natural hair care brand is. And like you mentioned, a lot of times it's what they call your consumable products. It's your shampoos, your conditioners, your hair butters. And so explaining the problem that we're actually solving, even to people who have the problem, has sometimes been challenging. But it's almost like, once you got to try it to understand what we're doing here. And then I found that also every new product that we release is something that's ahead of the curve, because no one's really thinking in this direction yet. So those have really been my experiences around innovating in the space.
You just launched a swimsuit collection or a swim collection that I was like, wait, how is that going to work? Oh, wait, it works. Do you know, we didn't think about like your fabric getting wet and you being still, like, yes, come through and not be messed up afterwards. So that's something that we didn't think about in that way at all. So, kudos to you for that. And then also thinking about, women who wear hijabs. That's actually another piece that you can wear that when you're at the beach and not worry about messing your hair up at the same time. And, there's a question in our comments, and it's something that, we were looking at as well, that you raised $2 million in seed money. And that's doggone near impossible for Black women to raise over $1 million. I believe it was 92 last year who raised that amount of money in the entire country. We're not just talking just like one or two, the entire country, 92 people. So now you being one of these Black women this year that have raised over $1 million, what was that process like for you? How did you get in the door? And, did you feel equipped while going through the process?
I'll say I was fortunate because my older brother and mentor has raised money before for his businesses. So I did have someone to sort of guide me through the process. However, I did find, and he was surprised to find as well, that explaining a Black woman's experience to a room full of white men is just kind of like, you have to find common ground. And that was really a growth experience for me, is explaining in the most lay terms what this experience is to someone who has never experienced it before.
Were you able to, so there's that part of explaining, right? There's the pitch of the why and the problem to show that there's the market. And then there's also the preparation for it. Like, how did you do that? that's a thing that people are always asking, like, all right, so I got a business, I got QuickBooks, like, what do I do now? And they think that it's just, I'm serious. Like, these are real questions that I
Yeah.
get from folks. They think that it's like, oh, it's just one more thing. And it's like, you have to really be prepared. And so what was that like for you, even working with your brother who has that background, to get prepared to be in that room?
Yeah, so it was a lot of just practicing how to tell our story, right? So explaining why you are where you are today and why that business needs investment or deserves an investment, or why it's an opportunity for someone to invest and really collaborate with you. You really just have to think about your story personally, and really position it in a way where others can not only understand the problem you're solving, but believe that it's a problem that the world needs to understand.
Okay, okay. So you guys hear that? Thank you again. Let me just do a set reset real quick. Everyone who's just tuning in, we have Monique Little, founder of You Go Natural, head wrap brand, and more. We're just gonna call her hair accessories at this point because I don't know what else you're coming out with. And
No.
she is she's changing the game right now in head wraps, you guys. Going from sewing at her home to securing $2 million in funding and already building a multi-million-dollar brand before doing that. And now she is, and she's bringing jobs to folks. It's not just I got a butter and I sell it at home, but she's got a hair care brand that's in a production facility that is pretty bomb. I'm gonna say that. So if you got questions for her, please drop them. And I'm just gonna give you a shout out. I'm gonna be honest, like your folks hit me up for a couple months, like we want to send you a head wrap, and I'm like, I don't need head wraps, I got head wraps. Like I'm not even gonna lie. I'm just like, okay, I don't need a head wrap. I saw your story as it was progressing, and I was actually more interested in your story than the head wrap. So I said, yeah, just go on and send me a head wrap. That's cool because I got to test it before I go with her. I
Mm-hmm.
had the head wrap on for a whole week, ma.
That's funny.
When it came, I mean, honestly, I'm like, I wear big hair. This is kind of small hair. I normally
Yeah.
wear huge hair, and I'm like, I have a peanut head. Most things it'll drown on me. So I was like, yeah, I'll just get it and just put it on and see. Like I put it, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, well, it's a little big here, but then it allowed me to, because I got the I think it was the turban where
Mm-hmm.
I it can roll around and I could wrap it a few times and get it to the fit that I want.
Yeah.
And see, now I'm selling your product for you because this is the stuff that we're not talking about, right? So
Yeah.
can you get into that piece of it, the fabric? Because you said you wanted it to be a better fabric. Can you tell us about that fabric? How the fit? How did you come across like figure out those pieces? Because it worked on my peanut head and it worked on somebody with a bigger head.
Yeah. So the design process is really the inspiration is really making it feel as though, like you said, you can wrap it and make it fit the way that you want it to fit. It's versatile.
Mhm.
So for that particular piece, the t-shirt turban, we really made it so that the only piece that we are fitting to your head is that cap, and we let you really decide what you're doing with the what we call the infinity loop.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was really it. I sit with these ideas for forever until I really figure out like what I want it to be and how I want it to look. And because it's not like you're designing a shirt or a pair of pants, it's like something that has never really been designed before. It really has to just literally flow from me, and I just give it to my seamstresses and then perfect it from there.
Okay. And you pick the fabrics yourself?
Yes, I do. I chose the t-shirt material to be comfortable and lightweight. I had been working with the like the Ankara fabrics early on,
Mhm.
and they're, of course, they're beautiful, and but some people just want something simple to wear every day. So that was really one thing that I love to add to my collection is fabrics that are both beautiful and good for everyday wear.
Hmm. How do you see your brand as you grow impacting the beauty community even more?
So our vision is to really make hair care easier, for women of color and for women with naturally kinky and curly hair. And I find that as someone who's worn her hair naturally before the natural hair movement really began, I think it's so beautiful how we are really the drivers of the growth of this industry. And I found that there's so much innovation that has yet to be seen. And so we've really delved into the butters and the shampoos, and we've started to create tools. And I just think that there are so many different directions that we can go with this, and it's an untapped industry. So our vision is to really just create these solutions for our customers who are busy, they're caregivers, they are ambitious, sometimes you just don't have time to mess with your hair. Although we love to do it, it's fun, sometimes you just don't have time. So our vision is to make it easier.
That's awesome. And then being able to see where you can fit in. And, we often talk about, the Black buying power, 1.5 trillion annually. And you're in Dallas, because I just moved here. I'm from New Jersey. So, hey, boo. Talking about, there's 300,000 black people in Dallas proper alone. And Texas has the #1 Black buying power in the country, right? So you have all these different pieces. And then on top of that, even though we spend 1.5 trillion in the US, we spend 2 to 10 billion in the US on hair care. If you count all the products we buy from overseas, it could be upwards of 500 billion, because we're not even talking about the hair, the tools, and everything that we just go on AliExpress, Alibaba, and buy ourselves nowadays. So it's just thinking about all of that and how you've positioned yourself that's relevant and doesn't feel it just feels authentic. There's a lot of people who just say, I want to have a product versus I want to have a solution, and you're bringing a solution to the table. So that's awesome. And I just want to, give you your flowers on that. I just, tuning in, everyone. If you have any questions for Monique, please drop them in. Like, we have a beauty boss on here that is doing what a lot of people dream of, and she's showing that it doesn't have to take you 10, 20 years to get to where you want to be. So drop the questions now as you're thinking about building your brands, as you're just celebrating and seeing the work that she's doing and the effort. And then a question I would have for you is advice that you would give to someone who is looking to start their own brand. What was like the thing you wish someone had told you first?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest piece of advice is just to start. I do have a lot of people who ask me, what do I need to do to get started? How do I get my LLC, and how do I do this and do that? But the biggest thing is like having what they call your MVP, your minimum viable product, and just getting that out into people's hands, and seeing how much demand there is for that product, how much you can perfect that product before you begin to pour money and resources and time into it. That's my biggest piece of advice, is just to start, take your first step.
Okay. What was the thing that you wish someone had told you before you started?
One thing I wish someone had told me before I first started. Plan. Yeah, I always tell this story about when I started. I started selling the product made to order, which sounded like a good idea at the time, because because it was like I didn't have a ton of money to go out and buy inventory. So I was like, well, I'll just make them one at a time. It's a profitable product. And so what happened was, when you make it to order, you open up the floodgates for all the orders to come in. And so that is something that I didn't even think of. Like, I never thought of, oh, hey, what if I have too many orders? Like, what happens then? So start thinking ahead early on of like your next step and what you want that next step to be.
You said to plan, but I also heard to not limit yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
Because you limited yourself, and your customers didn't let you limit yourself. So that's a blessing. Yes. Absolutely. So you guys hear that? Don't limit yourself in the work that you're doing. You have the opportunity to expand and be bigger. That's awesome. There's so many other things. I want to go play with this headband or this head wrap. So I had friends the other night like, oh, what is that? We need that. All right. So you have about 5 more orders coming through. Just so you know.
Love it. Thank you.
Is there something that you want to share with us, your consumers, about like your process that you normally don't get to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing about what we do here is the amazing talent that we're growing here in the Dallas area. We don't outsource any of our products, and I really feel like the seamstress and the sewing machine operator skill is one that is really kind of dying in the U.S. It's being outsourced, and so we really have the opportunity to grow a workforce of people who are learning a new skill. And we've partnered with the Texas Workforce Commission in creating an apprenticeship, and that teaches people with absolutely no experience how to use a sewing machine. And whether they stay with us or not, they're able to take that skill with them. So it's really just the talent that we're building here in the Texas area.
So I'm going to feel a little slow here because you said like 3 times that everything was handmade, right? And you have a production facility. But in my mind, people were not sitting at sewing machines making these.
Yeah.
Literally at livable wages.
Yes.
Like, wow. Like, so I'm not asking you because I know you livable wages, but the idea of, because when we think of someone sitting at a sewing machine, it's typically in another country in some sweatshop conditions, and you have a room full of people who are learning sewing skills, but then also really sewing and really giving us this product handmade with love.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. We are committed to keeping it here because I really do think that what we're building here in Dallas is really special.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm sorry. I was just like, wait, she really did say they were sewing them. Like, I felt just a little slow there, just a hot second, like, oh, no, they really are just sitting there. Okay. No, this is great. This is great. I'm trying to think of any last questions for you because this has been really cool, and I feel like I'm missing something that I've written down already. But just in terms of going back, let's go back to this funding piece, right? Maybe not even funding. What's next? Because you just dropped, we got the head wraps, you dropped the swim collection. What's next?
So you can expect a couple new innovations this year that I can't tell you about just yet. But but for now, I mean, swim is going to be relaunching in June. We the first batch of them sold out in a week. So we got all the customer feedback back, and we're excited about making the product even better. And so that's relaunching in June. We've got a new Ankara collection that's launching on Juneteenth, so we can look out for that. And then we've got a couple of new innovative products that we're adding to the product line before the end of the year.
Okay. And then do you see yourself expanding outside of products? Do we see you anywhere else? Like, do you have any long-term plans for yourself now?
So I definitely don't. This particular vein of our brand is like a fashion and function brand. So we have our t-shirt turbans and our t-shirt buns and all of our head wraps and our swim turbans that fall in that line. The next area to branch out in is the consumable arena, and we are really looking to do something that's never been seen before in that area. So that's really what we're looking forward to in 2022.
Okay, so we will stay tuned for all of that. And look, someone just said they are not missing the swim this time. Like, this is one of those get in and get out. If you didn't get it right away, just like, oh, okay, that looks nice. Yeah. Well, that's how you keep your demand popping, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't on purpose, but But we definitely are ready this time. Next month we'll have another release.
Okay. Well, this is awesome. I just want to say thank you for this conversation. And so that we could just learn a little bit more about your brand. It's so important to see the faces behind the brand, right?
Yeah.
And the people who are really doing it and the stories that you have to tell. So I appreciate it. If there's anything else you would like to share with our readers or audience, let us know. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
having me. This
you.
was so much
Yeah.
fun.
This was great. All right. So y'all ain't see everybody's gonna hit me up afterwards and just like I need that because this is what typically happens. I get text messages on the side like, "Yo, so remember you were talking to her? How do I get
Yeah.
that?" So yes, everyone, I just want to say thank you again to Monique Little, founder of You Go Natural. Please find her online at yougonatural.com. Let me drop the just so and then follow her at You Go Natural. Great products, great quality, great quality for sure. And then some and somebody to watch and support. It's always awesome to be able to support our Black women founders and the work that you're doing. So yes, I want to say thank you again. And I am Stephenetta Isis Harmon with the Business of Black Beauty. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.